Okay, the record is on.
Cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Valerie, can you help Theresa make sure she's on audio?
She can't. I'm sorry. What did you say?
Can you help Theresa make sure she's on audio?
Okay, let me go look.
She might have come in on telephone.
Hey everyone,
Hey Sue, good to hear from you.
you too. I hope your family is doing well.
Yes, I hope you're doing well too, Susan.
Thank you. I am Pat.
Good, I'm glad.
Yep.
Dave and I are sharing a channel, so.
Okay, let me figure out where my mute button. And then every new video chat is on. Okay, there.
Well, I see Mary joined us. Hi, Mary. How are you?
How are you? Good.
Good. Good to have you with us.
Thank you.
Bob Kane joined.
On iPhone, that's Bill Gates. I don't know if you noticed that.
Yeah, right.
Can you hear me? How you doing, Lucas?
Hey, Bob. How's it going? Good to have you on board.
You got two Bobs.
Thank you.
Two Bobs.
You're good. Got my toilet paper. Everything's fine.
Theresa Coates Ellis on the phone.
Hi, Theresa.
I couldn't get in on the video. I don't know why.
Worries.
I logged in, but I don't know what's happening.
Huh.
Well, thank you, Theresa.
Sure. How's everyone doing?
Good. Hey.
We'll wait just a couple more minutes. I see people still popping on.
Are we supposed to have a picture up here or on the screen if you log in?
You have to turn on your.
Hey, Bob Johnson. Hey, I'm not using video because I haven't shaved or showered in 2 weeks.
TMI.
Mr. Kirkpatrick, how are you, sir?
Well, hello, Jonathan. I've just been dealing with some Ring Central issues.
Yes.
You know, we found that one of the big issues with the Ring Central is it's not the Ring Central. It's other people's. They're either they have a second account and their two accounts are getting confused or mixed up. But majority of what we're dealing with is not related to the Ring Central Zoom that we're using. It's related to something else going on with their computer.
Technology.
Not only is there a shortage of toilet paper, there's a shortage of webcams too.
You're absolutely right. That's a big hot item.
Yep. I tried about 2 weeks ago and they were all gone already.
And my first, well, this is Holcomb, my first brand was Lysol.
Hey, Rich. Rich, hey, after this is over, how do I get access to the recording?
I just will email it to you. It comes,
Oh, okay.
it comes down to my machine, and then in a sound bite, and then I send that to you.
Okay, it's going to be big, right?
Yeah, but I think they do something to reduce it.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
I've sent it before to
Okay.
other people.
All right. Okay. Good.
And Jim, just so you know, Jim Kilpatrick, gives you the option either to save it on the cloud or to save it on your computer.
Hey, Rich, this is Sandy. Is there any way that the recording or the link to the recording could be put on the website for those who either couldn't get on or didn't get on but might like to know something about it?
That's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to do, Sandy. I'm going to put it on the website. I'll put it on Facebook, YouTube, and a bunch of other places.
Oh, good, good.
Hi, Sandy.
Hi.
Looks like a good lunch there, 1010.
No, thank you.
Hi, 1010.
Hi.
Can you hand me a piece?
It's in the background.
See, I said hi to Earl yet. Good to see you, Earl. And Katie. Katie's not video connected, but good to see your name up on the.
Valerie. Hi, Valerie.
I'm here. This is Katie.
All right, we're going to wait to 12:05, and then I'll turn things over to Theresa. Just give another. I see people popping on, and then we've got to about 12:40 on this platform, so we'll let Theresa talk, and hopefully a few minutes for any Q&As that people might have. I just want to say thank you all for joining. This is the first go at this, and I'm sure we'll get more people on as the weeks go by. But this is something that DG Harry Henderson and I had discussed over the last couple of weeks. We wanted to find a way that we could at least do our part from the district level to keep people connected and talk about something other than this crazy virus,
Yeah.
for our mental health to see each other and talk about some great things that are going on in our communities and hear from some great people. So, again, we thank Theresa for stepping up to the plate this week. Next week, we have Zone Director Peter Kyle from 7620, which is our neighboring district up in DC and Maryland. And then the third week, we have lined up, and it will be one of our Zone membership coordinators, and that is a good friend of mine, Patrick Eakes. Patrick was been a Rotarian for many years. He started out he was in the district where I started out as a Rotaract in Guilford County, Greensboro, North Carolina. So I'm really excited to bring him on as part of this. So without further ado, again, thanks to Theresa wears many hats. She's AG for us this year, Assistant Governor, and is doing some great work with her clubs out in the Manassas area. Of course, she's also an amazing Rotarian out there in that part of the world. And she's also a city council member for the city of Manassas, and she's running for mayor. And so she is really deeply involved in her community, doing some really great things and stepping up, being a leader, both in Rotary and in government. And so without further ado, thank you, Theresa Coates Ellis.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, Theresa Coates Ellis. Thanks for that introduction. I think you've covered everything there. Thanks for having me. This has been very hectic times, but I'm really grateful that you're giving me the chance to talk about our, to the Rotarians and our volunteers and our service organizations that are out there. This is the hardest time for me. I have a background in communication. And, as you know, the service organization is all about meeting with people. And when that's taken away, the most challenging thing is how to get our messages out to people without actually seeing them. So you're turning to, of course, it's amazing to see how businesses and organizations have developed into alternative methods in order to survive and also to serve. So that's what we're dealing with in the community. And even as a city council member, we are now going through resolutions on how we can meet. Because in a lot of the, charters and bylaws, you have to be in person. And that's how ours is set up in the city of Manassas. So it's going to bring us into a different level of technology as we, move forward in this. So my messaging to people has been, hope, a message of hope. Like, remember, we're going to be dancing in the streets when this is all over. Like, remember, we're going to have the programs that we've been working on continue. With our Rotary, my Rotary clubs in my area have gone a little quiet. I think they might be hunkered down, working on their house and things like that. But I don't know how much longer people can, really go on like this. That's what I'm kind of watching. What's going to develop? We're bracing for the next. So we started out where everybody was in fear. And I think we're kind of like, okay, we got it. Wash your hands, social distancing. So what is the next level? The next level is, shortages of food, healthcare, challenges. And that's already happening, of course, in a lot of the world. But for my area, city of Manassas, we don't even have, thank God, a COVID-19 case yet. We're surrounded by it. It's like Prince William County and whatnot. So the next level is where we come in as a Rotarian. You hear that noise?
Folks, everybody, please put your microphones on mute. And then later on, if you have a question, you can unmute. Thank you.
So I think as Rotarians and service organizations, the next level is where we have to step up. And that's food shortages, blood shortages, healthcare equipment and supplies, how to help parents that have to work with their kids, educating the children. The state of Virginia has shut down schools until September or August when they're going to start up. So it's, the fear is now subsided, and now the realization that we're going to have to deal with really bigger issues. Public health is the most important priority right now, don't get me wrong, but the after effects are now going to hit. So what are we doing in the city? I can just share some examples of what is happening, where people are mobilizing in order to get ready for this. Simple things, like some of our cardiology department, they have a shortage of masks and wipes right now in certain parts of this area. So our alteration and costume designers for the ballet are making masks. And they're actually working with like the vacuum cleaner business for the inserts to put in for a proper filter. And so, like, to me, that is like people coming together just to figure it out. And that seems to be working. There's also the restaurants. Our restaurants are really struggling. I think they're down 70% with their staff, which is pretty bad. So the restaurants that have figured out how to get business in other ways, which is curbside pickup, delivery and gift cards they're surviving. But if they didn't have that in place, they're struggling to try to figure that out and online ordering. I'm working on myself something today with the hospital. I don't know what I'm going to call it yet. I'm still working on it. But it's a drive. Pardon me? Oh, it's a drive to battle COVID-19 by collecting gift cards and encouraging people to buy gift cards from the businesses, the local businesses, and then have the hospitals give it out to their employees so that they can at least get food, lunches brought in. Because right now the healthcare workers are front line. Police, fire, and rescue are also on the front line, so we might incorporate that somehow. But to try to get something to them without direct contact, like you can wipe off plastic. Money's dirty, plastic can be cleaned off well. So all these things you have to think about. Our schools are continuing to give out food to the students, but only once a week with a 5-day supply. That grant is going to run out soon unless the federal government has put that in the package, but I'm not sure about that. I haven't followed up on that. But that's a big fear. There's a lot of students that rely on the schools for food, and that's grant money. Let's see what else. Trying to think. Health, business, education, communication. So I think as Rotarians, like what we're doing today, look how many people are logged in. We're all really hungry for information and hungry to connect. So we just have to continue that. We've been doing a lot of conference calls, Zoom calls. Zoom is a good tool as well. That seems to be pretty effective. I don't know if anyone's tried that yet. And it's free for 40 minutes during this crisis situation. From around the country, I have 7 children in my family, so they're all over the country, and I'm hearing feedback on them. New York City, my daughter in New York City just got out, and she's holed up in a farm in Virginia, because they were going to not let people out, so she had to get out because she was really going stir crazy up there. They have like closet apartments, but she's in isolation in this farm. So I have a daughter in Florida. She is getting her PhD in biology, so she keeps giving me a lot of hope of some of the vaccines and treatment. She's following that very closely, and feels very optimistic about that. I have children in the Air Force in Colorado and Georgia, and they're also keeping me updated on what's happening on that level. But I think this is a time to really bring in all your connections, not just with family, but professionally and through your volunteerism, and figure out what people want and figure out creative ways to make it happen where you're social distancing and whatnot. I am on updates with the COVID, Foreign of Council, the Office of Foreign Council, and they just gave us an update this week for elected, and they're saying it's gonna, 2 weeks we can kind of tell what's gonna happen. It could be a couple of months, but they think it's gonna take at least 2 years to totally recover from this. That virus might, subside in the heat, but it could come back again or be around for a while. So, I'm not trying to bring a doomsday. I think it's, we just have to have hope that we're going to get that treatment and vaccine under control, because that will definitely help. So, I can't really, our religious organizations and spiritual organizations are connecting like an intercouncil to try to keep up. I encourage people to do that with your churches. Like if you have any connections with the leaders, have them connect with the other leaders so they can be on the same page. Because as we get into this, we are all going to have to pull together as a community to, get this done. There's a lot of people that are bored right now, and they're searching for things to do, and they're waiting for us to tell them what to do. but you'll have to take into so many accounts, like make sure it's safe, make sure it's clean, make sure there's, connecting the right way. I did hear of a neighborhood that they were doing like aerobics in the street, and they were like circling off spots that were safe distances for people to stand, and then somebody was leading the way to just do some exercising, and it was a really overwhelming success. But take it into account, because the health and well-being is absolutely the most important thing. Any questions at all or comments?
I would have a comment just on the what you were saying about the churches. It's really interesting because our church had their service the last 2 weeks, and we all just came in on Zoom, and it was very effective. In fact, they extended the time after the service for half an hour so that we could just interchange thoughts and ideas with the rest of the people. It was sort of like a coffee time, but online. It was really good.
Yeah, that's our one church had about 90 members that came in for a Zoom. But I also think encouraging like your leader to connect to the other leaders. I mean, I think they already talk anyway, but one church might have more resources for their food bank. Not all churches have food banks, some do. And then the other church could give them some food for the food bank. It's just like making sure that that's happening in your community, that people are connecting. Sometimes we tend to be insular, but we really need to encourage those virtual connections or phone calls. I'm also very concerned about our seniors, to be honest. We have some skilled nursing facilities in our city. They are really having a rough time. They can't have any visitors. And the people that are homebound, if they have their caretaker get sick, the seniors are really stranded. And some of the seniors are ending up in the hospital because there's no place to put them if they're like homebound. That is something we're looking at to get ready for field hospitals. So, and that's like making schools hospitals or putting up tents in parking lots. Like this is like the worst case scenario. The seniors are our most vulnerable, although all the ages are getting hit now, but they still were the number one most vulnerable, the seniors and the healthy, people that are unhealthy. They're, sitting at their nursing homes, skilled facilities, really, really lonely. So what I've encouraged with our millennial group is to call the facilities and ask if they could talk to somebody that's lonely, that they just want to hear a voice and share information, and I like put together even like a little checklist, talk about who you are and ask about who they are, and if they need anything. Some of the parents in the community have encouraged drawing pictures and paintings for the seniors, but there is a problem with that too. And it's the delivery of, paper that could have the virus on the surface. So I don't really encourage that, but you can email the images to the front desk to put on the monitors and things like that. So you just have to think creative. It's almost like going backwards. Pick up the phone and call people, if you can't be with them. So any other questions or comments or suggestions that you've seen out there in your community that we can all share?
Theresa, this is Sue Clem. I have a question or a comment. First of all, I really love the idea of buying gift cards for our medical workers. I'm just wondering the best way to get those to them. And second of all, I noticed one of the gift cards you can get for Uber UBER. And if you get Uber, you can, the medical people can use Uber Eats, which will benefit not only them, but other people who are trying to deliver food to make up for the loss of their income in their regular jobs.
I think you said something about Uber Eats, right?
Yes, and
That is
also,
a great idea.
how do we get the gift cards to the medical personnel?
That is that would have to be, transferred by somebody that it has. I'm waiting to hear from the administrator on that because they have protocol in place. So I most likely it would be so that's a good question. We're trying to think how we could do that digitally because of the questions that you asked. Can we do like maybe a gift certificate by email to the hospital, and then they email it to the person and they get like some kind of a code to cash it in or authorize it that way. But you really have to think about this. If we do nothing, what's going to happen? If it is somebody picks up the gift cards and makes sure they're sterile and delivers them in a sterile bag and handled by gloves, that might be the best way to do it. You just have to make sure you're doing your best to, be have social distance and have everything sterile. The hospital handling it, I think if they get it in a plastic bag, they're going to make sure it's taken from there. If you can only do plastic, but I am working with the restaurants. How can we do this by email or digital? Because you can get, gift certificates and things like that digitally, but it has to all get in place. So what's the best way to do it? And that is doing it the right way socially. I am an elected official, so I don't get a pass on the social distancing thing. I mean, I keep my distance for, the sake of my health, but I still have to be out there. I still have to go to the meetings. It's still in our charter that I have to be there face to face. So I actually have a background in healthcare for 30 years. So we are kind of the ambassadors of the community right now to make sure stuff gets done. So I don't want anybody out there to put themselves at risk. But if you have somebody, maybe police or fire or rescue could help out with that, because they also are out there helping deliver food right now. So you mobilize the people that are already equipped to do it. If you're in your community and you wanted to start something like that, I'm really thinking as I'm talking, to be honest, because that's what we're doing a lot of right now. Call your police chief or fire or rescue and say, would you be willing to help in getting, connecting to the hospital so they can have this, or connecting to our seniors to deliver something. But be really careful though. It has to be stuff that it can be clean. I don't encourage delivering letters and artwork to the seniors at all. Anyone else?
Yeah, hey, this is Ed Hogue, Dunleary Merrifield. So I don't know if you all have been doing it, but we've already been through our board meeting online, and we've also done the same with the service committee meeting. So we were able to get emergency funds to one of the groups we support, which is Second Story, which is troubled youth and ladies 21 and under that have children, because they're in different housing around the Dunleary Merrifield area. So we got emergency monies that were getting transferred to them for that purpose. We equally, even though it's a little different, we took two of our staff that handle our luncheons who were laid off. We've also gotten emergency funds and some other dollars to provide them for gift cards to grocery and otherwise. And what was mentioned earlier, Sue, when you said about gift cards and so forth, I think if you get with the respective vendors or even a police department or fire department or otherwise, you can coordinate with them how to get dollars to them electronically or set up, quote unquote, from Venmo or Zelle or otherwise, where it's no cost to transfer the dollars, where they can control it, or even technically through a GoFundMe or otherwise. So there's some options where you can get those things over. They can respectively distribute the monies internally as opposed to gift cards and things like that.
Right. Yeah, that's something that's happening with our service organization, or not our service industries, like restaurants. There's been like virtual tips set up on GoFundMe. You can do a GoFundMe for any organization, like Bus Drivers United or whatever. That is another really effective way to do it. We had a huge fire in our community a couple of years ago. A family, their house burned to the ground, and they had college kids that were left with nothing. So anyway, I put together like a gift card drive at that time for people that had gift cards that they never used. And we raised thousands of dollars just by that being dropped off at the church. The church seemed like a safe place to put it, trustworthy place. And that worked really well. So that's kind of how I started with this. I'm like, that was really effective. But, now we have the whole making sure everything's clean. So the virtual money and the GoFundMe is also another alternative. So. Anybody else?
Theresa, can you speak briefly on the mechanics of how you're working under the, how's the council working under this, unique situation? And what's sort of, you've talked about, I guess you've been the communication hub and you're seeing what issues are going on down there. Can you tell us a little bit more, because maybe that would help us understand how our local governments are working? How are you able to get business done as usual or unusual?
Well, for our city, and the county, I guess, would have board of supervisors. We have city council. We have, of course, paid staff. We have a city manager. We have economic development, community development. Our staff, our city hall has shut down, but everyone is in there working. We can, as council is elected, we can go in there anytime with social distancing. But a lot of work is being done by staff, and we get updates regularly about what is happening. And, if we have to make decisions by email or phone call, we will do that. The stuff that we have to meet on has to do, with money, to be honest. Like, that's the big thing. Our businesses were really struggling, so we had to figure out how to handle, right now, budget season for government. So that's why this is really crazy. We're in the middle of doing our tax, advertising our tax rates. The school budgets are being finalized and presenting to council. And so we had to do an emergency meeting where we were socially, apart, just to give a waiver of penalties for our meals tax and, give them extended time to pay. That seems like a very minor thing, but that's something that has to be voted on with a quorum. So that's happening everywhere. The school board, they did not have as many restrictions in their charter or bylaws. So they are meeting by Zoom during work sessions to get their budget done. Once the budget's done, they have to present it to council, and that's going to be most likely by like a Zoom. We're hoping to have all that in place. But we have to have quorum present. They have to be there. So if we have, our quorum is 3 council members, we have to have 3 in City Hall in the chamber, and everyone else can be, on Zoom or on a call or something. I think that's how we're trying to set it up. But the priority with the city is public health. That is the number one priority. And then from there, we look at, each department. They're watching how things are trickling in, and getting daily reports from every department, from fire, safety, and to police, education. Yeah, a lot of communication there. But we actually had a COVID-19 City of Manassas patient a long time ago over in Japan. So one of our school teachers that retired, she was in Japan on a cruise on that Diamond cruise ship. And she was taken off the ship. She was one of the few Americans that were thrown into a hospital in Japan. So, of course, her best friend reached out to me. And this is before it was on the radar, a long time ago. And she said, I don't know what to do. She's stuck in this hospital and no one knows where she is. So I said, give me your cell phone number. And I called her in Japan. So I actually got Senator Warner to his office to call her and get the ambassadors at the embassy over there aware that she was there. So I've been following this a long time because our biggest, we were watching when was she going to come back, because nobody knew anything about this virus. Because as soon as she got back to the city of Manassas, it was going to just spark chaos. So she came back and she was fine. So I keep up with her and she's still fine. So I'm like, okay, that was like a probably 3-month odyssey. And it took that long for her to feel real comfortable being fine. So I don't know if that's, what we're kind of up against. Because once people get over it, I think there's a possibility they can get it again. That's what I'm hearing anyway. Anybody hear any more on that?
Well, what I've heard, at least for the cases in China, we have a doctor, a friend who's a doctor in China who's actually his company helped develop a 15-minute test. And he was saying most of those cases that they thought people were getting reinfected were cases they were never completely over it.
Yeah. But we do have business as usual in the city. Like our streets are being taken care of, they're saying public works is still in business, and that is what's really important. Like I talked about how we have to have hope, putting out messaging out there of hope. Like today we're doing a video in the city where all the council members are talking about what we're thankful for. And it's like a 30-second spot for each one, and we're going to put it out there. And mine is actually being thankful for healthcare, the healthcare workers. And that's the kind of stuff Rotary could do as well. Just everybody takes their cell phone and shoots like a 15-second to 30-second spot and sends it to one person, and they dump it into, like an iPhone app for video and send it out to their members, saying about, I don't know, what they're thankful for, or what they're looking forward to. I think that's a good message right now. This is what we're going to do, and then also what we can do while we are in our isolation to stay mentally healthy, with art and music, all the things that give us joy, and all the things that we haven't had time for. Sitting down with our family, playing games and reading, and in that kind of way. Okay, anybody else?
Well, we're at 12:35. 12:40 is our stopping point. May have time for one more question. If anybody has it, but other than that,
I have a comment. Scott Monet. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
any club that needs help setting up this Zoom conferencing or whatever, I'm happy to help the club. I don't want to help on an individual basis. That can get too complicated, but I'm happy to help the club with the hosting of the meetings or whatever might be done. I listed my phone number in the comments section. So I'm happy to help any club leadership with that. And Jonathan, I can send you an email offline if you want my contact information.
Great. Thanks, Scott. And,
Okay.
We got our team of Rich,
Jonathan,
Rich and Valerie.
Jonathan, this is Phil Sternberg. I tried logging in and I have listened to the conference and using this Ring Central, but my experience is that Zoom is much, much better. This particular software doesn't seem to be very, very effective. And I would heartily urge you to use Zoom rather than Ring Central. Just my opinion. And what I've done for my own club is I've signed up and you can get a free Zoom account that's good for a 40-minute conference. And we're going to start using that. I'm testing it tomorrow.
There is a limitation on that. The free one only allows you to have three people on the call. So you'll.
Yeah, and this is just speaking from Ring Central standpoint. Since I'm in charge of that, I have that responsibility. This is Zoom. It's a part of our Ring Central program, but it's actually sponsored by Zoom and is tied in, and we pay, or the Ring Central pays a good chunk of money to Zoom for this service. So it is the exact same thing. I have my own personal account that's Zoom, and I use it all the time, but I find this one is really extremely good. It's just knowing how to use it and what the variables are. But we found it very successful. We've done a lot of calls on it lately.
This is
Well,
Sandy.
this is Phil Sternberg again. It seems like it's okay using the phone, but using the video teleconferencing mode, I can only see one or two people on the thing, and I have no icons to figure out how to get my the video and computer to work.
Well, it also,
that's interesting because we're not seeing that. We're seeing everybody on the screen. So I don't know if it's just a version issue, maybe, but we'll look at that, Phil, and we'll see. But I've used it now for 3 weeks, and it seems I've had zero issues. But we'll do some more further.
Okay, I appreciate you letting me know.
if you have teenagers in the house, they can be the culprit. Honestly, if they're playing online games. I'm not kidding. Seriously, if they're playing online games, that can take up all your.
Ask a 5-year-old how to work.
Okay. Yeah.
My 7-year-old grandson taught me.
Okay.
Jonathan, this is Sandy, and I know we have to go, but I just wanted to say that I kind of agree with Rich because over the years I've used GoToMeeting, which is really good. Zoom, I just was on a meeting yesterday and the day before on a GoToMeeting and Ring Central. And frankly, I guess it's all in knowing how, but once I get the hang of it, any one of those three works really, really well. So I just had to throw my 2 cents worth in on that because Ring Central does seem to be working.
Thanks.
This is Bob. I've used both. In fact, I've signed up for Zoom, but this is just as easy for me. It's no difference, really.
Well, thank you, everyone. Thanks for participating. I think we had 30 plus this week. Hopefully we continue to grow it. Thank you. Thank you so much, Theresa, for your time and talking to us. It was very interesting to hear from you and your perspective. And thank you all for everyone for joining. It's great to see faces and names. Keep up the great work. Stay healthy. And let's commit to each other to keep our social distancing in person, but let's keep our social connectivity best we can through formats like this. God bless and have a great rest of the week, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you all. Thank you, Jonathan.
Bye-bye.